Stephen Simmerman grew up in Northeast Tennessee and lived and worked in North Carolina for over 10 years. From a young age, Stephen has been interested in archaeology and how art has informed cultures from the translation of the Rosetta Stone to the age of digital apps. Simmerman worked professionally as a graphic designer and editor for 5 years before deciding to pursue graduate studies, first in English, then in graphic design. He has taught for over 20 years at several schools in the Southeast region. Among Simmerman's influences and inspirations are Henri Toulouse-Lautrec, Norman Rockwell, and Jacob Lawrence. He admires the work of Andy Warhol and Jasper Johns and how they parlayed elements of commercial art into their unique works of art. Stephen's also a huge fan of early magazine illustrators like N.C. Wyeth and Will Bradley, as well as the German poster designer Lucien Bernhard. Simmerman's illustrations are primarily mixed media: acrylic, watercolor, oil pastel, or ink, often layered with found type. Much of his creative pursuits involves the wordplay of advertising and its power of persuasion, and he enjoys creating works laced with nostalgia and mysteries of the passage of time. Along with completing a graphic novel in 2016, Simmerman has illustrated 2 children's books, and his work has been juried into numerous regional and national exhibitions. He currently serves as Assistant Professor of Graphic Design at Concord University in West Virginia. Jamey Biggs grew up in Summersville, West Virginia. He holds a Bachelor of Arts in Studio Art and a Bachelor of Science in Art Education. He completed an MFA in Ceramics at Indiana State University in 2003. Biggs has instructed ceramics and sculpture for 20 years. Jamey has directed the construction of multiple permanent and experimental ceramic kilns while at Concord University. Jamey has served as the gallery director for the Arthur Butcher Art Gallery in the Alexander Fine Arts Center on the campus of Concord University since 2004. He has directed the Visiting Artist Program at Concord University, providing Athens, West Virginia, with free demonstrations by the nation's well-known ceramic artists and creating a channel for international exchange. Jamey's artwork is primarily ceramic and draws upon themes of Appalachian life through sculpture and utilitarian objects. Regarding the pieces that you'll see in this exhibit, Biggs' artist statement is, "These trucks and bulldozers are constructed in earthenware clay using various molding and hand-forming techniques. I've settled on the image of the metal toy because it is largely positive. A wide variety of folks have an existing relation to it, and is not traditionally used as a subject matter or imagery for high art. My hope is that the artworks presented are truly nonverbal in nature. I want to make work that will instantly draw a viewer in and hold their attention through unexpected pairings. Images are fluid in terms of their meaning and significance. The material in the truck or in front of the dozer provides me with another possible layer of meaning and context for the truck. I typically try to use that extra layer as an opportunity for play and humor. The toy truck is associated with childhood and childlike impulses. Anything that I put in the truck instantly becomes, by definition, a truckload. That transformation is semantic and silly, but I want the works to have monumental qualities while being as small as possible. I want the loads to be overwhelming. I want the viewer to rely on their own associations to make sense of those materials, objects, and commodities. I think the playfulness and general mischief will come through the work. The works will convey ideas of generosity and abundance, but I'm okay if a few notions of wastefulness get through as well. I hope that adults who are well-versed in art theory, art history, and criticism can find interest in the sculptures. At the same time, I want the work to appeal to children." Stephen says, "I grew up just outside of Jonesboro, so I've always valued the historic town and its quaint people. There is a sweetness in the air of East Tennessee, and the volunteer spirit of our citizens is something to be truly proud of. Even back in 7th and 8th grade, my friend and I had a booth in Jonesboro days. Though I've lived in North Carolina, Virginia, Georgia, and West Virginia, I always consider Tennessee home." Jamey says, "I grew up in central West Virginia, where a big wheel and a sandbox were prized possessions. My family was made up of teachers, farmers, and contractors. People who were good at solving problems with whatever was at hand. There usually wasn't enough stuff to do things right, but there was always a way to make it work. That kind of creativity shaped me early on. The landscape, the resourcefulness, and the mix of play and purpose all show up in my work now. Steven says, my family tree has some interesting branches, and I've always guessed that my maternal great-grandmother, who was part Portuguese and wrote poetry, is partly responsible for my love of language and creative pursuits. Through my years of creating artwork and graphic design, I was inspired by Charles Schulz, Peanuts, Batman, and Superman comic books, Norman Rockwell's Saturday Evening Post covers, and N.C. Wyeth, who illustrated many classic book covers. I also really enjoy the pop art of Andy Warhol and Jasper Johns. Biggs says, some of my biggest influences are artists I never met, hero painters like Jasper Johns and Philip Gusson, whose work hit me hard early on. But the people who really shaped how I think about making were my professors, Steve Glazer, Jack Gates, and Dick Hay. They each opened up new ways of seeing and thinking. Still, the deepest influence probably comes from my mother and grandmother. They were natural storytellers and problem solvers. The mix of imagination and resourcefulness has stuck with me more than anything. Stephen says, I usually begin with markers or charcoal pencils to create preliminary sketches, but have recently explored Posca acrylic markers. I favor their nice bold lines. I collect all manner of ephemera that I usually find on public domain sites like the libraryofcongress.gov and the New York Public Library. Often an old blueprint or map or vintage newspaper ad catches my attention, and I enjoy layering these images using digital tools with my scanned sketches. Jamey says, I work from both meticulous plans and total improvisation. Step 1 is usually procrastination, followed by a generous amount of pacing back and forth. I like using molds, and I'm drawn to industrial materials. I also enjoy breaking the rules of craft whenever I can, playing with clay that's too thick, combining materials that aren't supposed to go together, or pushing a process just to see what happens. I fire kilns like crockpots, set it and forget it. That kind of firing frees me up to be with my family while the kiln does its work. The body of work comes from that mode, but I also enjoy wood firing and other experimental approaches that demand more involvement and leave a more physical mark on the piece. Whether it's hands-off or high maintenance, I'm drawn to processes that support play, material curiosity, and a bit of unpredictability. Simmerman says, while I still prefer the tactile approach of traditional media, i.e. getting my hands dirty with scumbling and blending with Q-tips and cotton balls, it's been really fun to experiment with digital tools like Adobe Illustrator and Procreate. Some of the special effects and filters offer some amazing results. Biggs says, I get more sleep now. Turns out I'm allergic to sleep deprivation. My kids are older and they don't need the same round-the-clock attention they used to, which means I can act a little more like a normal professional. I don't make work with the same desperate energy I once did. I'm more patient, I plan more. I give the work room to breathe instead of trying to force it into existence, all at once. Simmerman says, I hope to continue working on a second graphic novel, which I've been outlining for a few years. I completed my first graphic novel, Pinky's Biennial, in 2016. My next idea will tell the story of Odin Kettner, an unassuming blue-collar worker who gets scammed in an online romance, but ultimately gets his revenge. I see it as a cautionary tale for our social media-obsessed culture. Jamey says, I'd love to create a large outdoor installation built around small ceramic blue crawfish. There's a relatively rare population of them in the soil of Nicholas County, West Virginia, where I grew up. I associate them with my grandfather. The first time we came across one while digging, he told me it meant the groundwater in that spot was pure. That wasn't true, but the moment stayed with me. The image of these vivid hidden creatures surfacing from the earth has never really left. If anyone hearing this has the land or the funds to help make it happen, let's talk.